This is Sangsi's Beggar Room. I'm Censor Storm with breaking news not yet covered by domestic media. Europe is currently in chaos, and France has ordered hospitals to prepare for war by March 2026. Today, let's take a look at Europe, which is preparing for war. The recent directive issued by the French government has caused a huge shock around the world. They have ordered hospitals across France to prepare for war by March 2026. It's not just about emergency drills, but truly preparing for a scenario where hundreds of thousands of casualties could arrive if a real war occurs. To be more specific, French health authorities told civilian hospitals to prepare for 10,000 to 50,000 patients for at least 10 days and up to 180 days, nearly half a year. The hospitals affected have not been disclosed. Given the scale, it's likely that large university or national general hospitals are the targets, not small local ones. That's not all. There are currently 8 military hospitals across France, and the government has ordered these military hospitals to significantly expand their bed capacity beyond the current level. The reason is clear: to secure space for swift treatment of French soldiers or Allied troops injured in battle. And that's not all. France also plans to set up new field medical centers near major transportation hubs like train stations, airports, and key cities. These places are not just for French citizens, but are designed to treat soldiers from Allied countries as well. France isn't just defending itself, it's acting as a rear base for all of NATO. There's an even more surprising aspect. The Minister of Health personally signed guidelines containing a sentence like this. It means France can act as a rear base in a major war. This statement is not just a simple assumption, but is interpreted as the country officially recognizing the possibility of a European Great War at the national level. With too few medical staff, their solution was even more surprising. The French government has determined that active duty military medical personnel alone are not enough and has left open the possibility of additionally conscripting civilian medical workers. This means that even doctors and nurses could be conscripted and deployed to the military in a wartime situation if necessary. France is also preparing a wartime preparedness manual for everyone. This manual will be given to every household and will include instructions on actions to take and supplies to prepare in case of war. It brings to mind World War II civil defense manuals and aligns with President Macron's national defense policies. President Macron has already announced a plan to double France's defense budget by 2027. Hospital preparedness guidelines and rising defense spending are linked as part of a broader trend. This is a strong signal that France is seriously preparing for a wartime system. To sum up, what France is doing now is not just preparing for a possible situation, but actually taking steady steps to be ready to function as a strategic rear base and a military and medical hub for its allies in the event that war actually breaks out. That war will likely be a conflict between Russia and NATO, as many people say. Can Russia, which can't even win against Ukraine, really dare to invade Europe? I also find this part puzzling, but there are several signs that Russia is always watching Europe. Russia is expanding its military units along the western border and rapidly increasing defense spending. Let's take a closer look. According to a report by the Wall Street Journal, Russia is increasing its military forces along the borders with Finland and Norway in preparation for a possible conflict with NATO. Russia plans to set up a new army headquarters about 160 kilometers east of the Finnish border, which will command tens of thousands of troops. Many of these troops will likely be deployed after a Ukraine war ceasefire. At the same time, Russia has started stockpiling various equipment. According to a report by Newsweek, Russia has begun holding back and stockpiling newly produced equipment instead of deploying it to Ukraine. For the equipment they lack, they are using North Korean-made equipment, and instead they are reportedly redeploying those other pieces of equipment to regions including the Baltics and Northern Europe. The Royal United Services Institute in the United Kingdom analyzed that these moves suggest Russia might be considering something else. Russia's defense spending is rising to a record high, now at about 7.1% of its gross domestic product. That's an enormous amount of spending. A report by the International Institute for Strategic Studies says Russia spends more on defense than all of Europe combined. Many organizations and individuals have repeatedly warned that Russia could invade Europe. If just one group or person said this repeatedly, it might not be believable, but many unrelated groups and individuals have warned about a Russian invasion at the same time. In March 2025, the German Federal Intelligence Service warned that President Putin is preparing for war with NATO and aims for large-scale conflict by 2030. The Lithuanian government agency said that although a full-scale war against NATO is unlikely now, Russia could test NATO with limited military actions against a member country. They said Russia might conduct military actions to test how well NATO can use Article 5 of its charter. The Danish Defense Intelligence Service also warned that Russia could be ready to wage a large-scale war in Europe within the next 5 years. That's understandable, since Russia's provocations are increasing. They recently sent drones into Polish airspace on purpose. On September 1st local time, Russia allegedly jammed global positioning system signals targeting an aircraft with European Union Commission President Ursula von der Leyen on board. The situation became so serious they had to use paper maps to land. Russia is steadily escalating its provocations. It might really mean that they are prepared for war. As a result, countries across Europe are now literally engaged in a rearmament race. Countries that once cut defense budgets to focus on welfare or the economy are now increasingly boosting their military strength. The main development is at the European Union level, as it isn't fully dismissing the chance of a full-scale war with Russia. So, to prepare for any possible situation, they have officially decided to establish a stockpiling strategy. This involves more than stockpiling military supplies. It's a comprehensive plan that includes civilian life. The European Union has already sent direct warning messages to citizens of its member countries, telling every household to prepare a survival kit that can last at least 72 hours. Basic items include water, food, a flashlight, batteries, and a portable radio. They're advising people to be ready to survive on their own for at least 3 days without electricity, gas, internet, or cell phones. This is basically a guideline based on the assumption that war could deeply penetrate our daily lives. Previously, such recommendations were common in war zones or disaster-prone countries, but now all of Europe is sharing similar manuals. And this trend is directly linked to increases in defense spending. Germany now spends over 2% of its gross domestic product on defense, while Poland claims it will have NATO's largest military after the United States. They are making major purchases of tanks, fighter jets, and long-range missiles. Ultimately, these trends send one clear message: war could become real at any time. The European Union recommending that citizens prepare survival kits is not just an overreaction, but also an honest admission that the government can't take responsibility for everything if something actually happens. In other words, Europe is not just increasing its weapons, but has entered a stage where, at the national level, it is directly asking each citizen to follow survival manuals. In other words, they are literally preparing for war. And European countries are also intensifying their military training. Let's take a look at the case of Poland first. Poland has recently launched the largest military exercise in its history, called Iron Defender 25. This isn't simply a training with thousands assembled. Over 30,000 troops and 600 pieces of equipment such as tanks, armored vehicles, artillery, and fighter jets have been deployed. The training covers land, sea, air, and cyberspace. In short, they're rehearsing an actual war scenario as it is. The issue is that this training overlaps with another major exercise, Zapad 25, which Russia and Belarus are planning. Some predict up to 150,000 Russian troops could be deployed. In the end, when one side conducts a large-scale exercise, the other side responds with a similar-sized exercise as if matching each other. It feels like Cold War-era military tension is returning to Europe. Though called training, some say it's basically a dress rehearsal for combat just before war starts. Because of this situation, experts are saying that both sides are essentially deploying their forces under the guise of training. It's a risky phase that could quickly become real combat, and Europe appears to be preparing seriously for war. I don't know what the future holds, but I hope things are resolved peacefully. What do you all think about this situation? Please leave your thoughts in the comments as well. That's the end of the video, thank you.